GM alert, at least one of your heroes is dying of hunger and or thirst. Travel alert, using the path, you travel northwest, taking a third of a day to arrive, continuing along the path leading northwest, the forest ahead just another few hours or so away, you come to a large, stately manor here in the countryside, not all that different from Baron Renwald's mansion you encountered back in Hope some time ago. As you approach, however, it becomes clear that something is amiss, as the entire building appears colored in an orangish-yellow hue. Looking about, you don't see any definitive threats, so you lead your party to the front stairway of the manor to have a closer look. Inspecting the building exterior as thoroughly as you can, it's clearly coated in some orangish-yellow goo, hardened into something stone-like but quite sticky to the touch. Whatever the material is, the substance is quite thick, at least a foot, and hence bars any sort of entry into the manor within. Your party, initially at a loss of what the material is that's completely covered the manor, let's do a party intelligence check and see what you may discover. Needing a 14 or less from your heroes, a 8 was rolled. Success, this is amber, Redfern finally announces, surprised by the find. It's as if some giant poured thousands of gallons of amber atop the mansion and let it harden, encasing it completely. What could do something like this? Ariana wonders aloud, quite surprised by the find. I am not aware of any natural process that could do this, monstrous or otherwise, Redfern answers, knowing that Ariana's question was rhetorical. This is quite the mystery. Janet, let's do a party curiosity check now and see what happens. Needing a 11 or less from your heroes, a 6 was rolled. Success, preoccupied with the amber-covered manor, your heroes are nearly surprised by the sudden attack of several old gods, the cursed treants pouncing on your party and initiating fierce combat. Your party is under attack. Menacing your entire party are 3 cursed treants. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana uses a boots of speed on herself, allowing herself to act twice each round for 5 minutes. It's Redfern casts Fireball on roughly half of all encountered combatants, blasting them in an explosion of flame, needing a 50 or less on percentile dice, a 20. Sainators casts cause moderate wounds on Cursed Treant number 2, nearly wounding it, needing a 14 or greater. Cursed Treant number 2 rolls a 19 and saves for no damage versus spells. Cursed Treant number 2 attacks Ariana with its fist, needing a 24 to hit. Die roll is a 1, which is an Cursed Treant number 3 attacks Ariana with its fist, needing a 24 to hit. Die roll is a 5. Cursed Treant number 1 attacks Eswin with its fist, needing a 21 to hit. Die roll is a 2, plus 4 to hit. Cursed Treant number 1 misses Eswin. Cursed, it's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet casts cause light wounds on Cursed Treant number 2, nearly wounding it, needing a 4. Marioleth casts Lightning Bolt on roughly half of all encountered combatants, electrocuting them. Cursed Treant number 1 is electrocuted for 29 points of damage, needing a 14 or greater. Cursed Treant number 1 rolls a 12, Eswin readies his longsword plus 2 and swings at Cursed Treant number 1. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with higher values acting. Ariana readies her longsword plus 2 and swings at Cursed Treant number 3, needing a 20 to hit. Barthol readies his short sword plus 1 and swings at Cursed Treant number 1, needing a 16 to hit, plus 4 due to hiding in shadows. Die roll is a 20, which is an automatic hit and does 6x damage. Barthol hits Cursed Treant number 1, doing 24 points of damage and defeating it. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 354 experience points. Your heroes take care of the 3 cursed treants, only to discover a dozen more shambling forward to destroy you. The situation suddenly looks grim. Enough! A woman cries out from beyond, her voice amplified by strong magic. To your surprise, the cursed treants slowly back away from your party. In turn, an old human woman dressed almost as a druid is revealed perhaps 30 feet away, the Strenigerus clearly responding to her. Surrender, or I will have the treants rip the flesh from your bones. The woman begins as she approaches, quite the surprise in a day already full of surprises. Getting your first look at her, the human woman appears quite old, dressed in older, unflattering robes that covers most of her body. Standing there, let's do a wisdom check on your hero and gauge your initial reaction to the woman. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 15 was rolled. Failure. Despite her appearance, the old woman is likely a powerful magic user, and her demeanor and body language suggest that she be respected and, at least for now, obeyed. What on Sicilus are adventurers doing in Grim-Tir? The elderly woman then asks, eyeing all of you over. None of you should be here. It's a long story, you respond, trying not to give too much away. We were teleported to Leakley, learned of the aging sickness affecting the drow there and came here looking for a magic user named Balibus. Do you know him? Why are you looking for him? The old woman asks, even more suspicious now. Lord Denzith back in Leakley told us that Balibus was able to treat his aging sickness, Redfern responds honestly. We've come to see what more he may know and whether he can do more. The woman peers at Redfern as if she could deduce the truth with just a stare. Balibus certainly won't help with that. But come, it's too dangerous to talk out here in the open, especially alongside his manor. Quickly, this way. The woman points in the direction of the forest about a 2 hours march ahead to the northwest. Your heroes naturally turn to you, quite concerned. I don't trust her, Sainadius whispers to you, all eyes on the old woman. It appears she's in league with the Strenigerus. We should attack? No, we should listen. Cartha counters, suggesting that you follow the woman's advice. She could destroy us if she really wanted to, we should trust her. The woman stares at you intensely and her cursed treants are poised to continue their attack. What do you do? Choose an option. Curiosity, why are we in danger here? Diplomacy, so we will call this a truce. Optimism, okay, we will trust you for now. I mean you no harm, the woman replies, her eyes sincere. But we need to talk first before you try any sort of action here, there is a lot you don't know. The older woman then leaps into the branches of one of the nearest treants and commands all of you northwest along the road. Clearly, she has control over these creatures. From what you've learned, and recently experienced in Leakley, the cursed treants, the old ones, aka the Strenigerus, are dangerous monsters to be feared. Yet this woman has some sort of bond with them, so, perhaps, they aren't as terrible as you've been led to believe. The sorceress commanding all to follow, the treants both lead and take up the rear, preventing any escape if that was your plan. Hence, at this point, it does seem like you will need to trust the old woman leading you toward the forest beyond. The Strenigerus are taking us to their lair in the forest. Sainadius warns, quite agitated now. Once we arrive, we must initiate holy war and destroy every single one of them. On our own? Cartha retorts, once again contradicting him. The human sorceress seems to be their ally as well, we have no chance against these treants. Staring at Sainadius, you conclude that he must really hate these creatures and you worry that his vengeance is only going to cause additional trouble. The old sorceress continues to lead the way to the forest, atop one of the cursed treants and at least a dozen more treants walking alongside and behind you. Along the way, the creatures eye you like an enemy, making the short journey to the forest quite stressful. Fortunately, the treants keep their distance, allowing you to reach the entrance without issue. Watching the treants carefully, let's do an empathy check on your hero and see if you notice anything more about them. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 14 was rolled. Success, the treants are strange creatures, wood-based humanoid life forms that appear like walking trees. They do have eyes, and while they appear to be glowing red you sense that they are not evil. Rather, They seem almost possessed, as if they're unable to move or think on their own. Stop! The old magic user suddenly cries, raising her right hand to indicate that everyone should immediately stop and hold their position. Tense moments pass, nobody in your party sure of what is happening. The woman ahead is quite anxious, however, and even the treants here seem to be nervous as well. Janet, let's do a curiosity check on your hero and see if you notice anything here. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 4 was rolled. Success. Carefully examining some of the trees here marking the forest entrance, you spot a few that look very similar to the treants standing around you. Could they be additional treants, hiding for some reason? Suddenly, a dozen or so well-camouflaged treants spring to life just inside the forest entrance, belting out a war cry as they rush to attack. The tree men around you rush their marauding brethren, initiating a strange battle that is pitting treant against treant. Standing there nearly in the middle of the fracas, let's do a party intelligence check to see if any of you can determine what is going on. Needing a 14 or less from your heroes, a 2 was rolled. Success. This must be another faction. Redfern shouts, preparing for battle as well. The sorceress ahead must not control them. The treants engage one another, pummeling each other with their giant woody fists and, occasionally, attempting to suck the life force from one another as well. The elderly sorceress then begins fighting off the attacking treants with her impressive magic. As you stand there and monitor the strange battle, several of the gorilla treants then suddenly rush your party, forcing you to defend yourselves. Your party is under attack. Threatening all of you are 3 cursed treants. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana uses a Boots of Speed on herself. Marioleth casts Web on roughly half of all encountered combatants, attempting to immobilize them in sticky goo cursed treant number. Redfern casts Web on roughly half of all encountered combatants, attempting to immobilize them in sticky goo cursed treant number 1 is not held, needing a 14 or greater. Cursed treant number 1 rolls a 15 and saves versus spells. Cursed treant number 2 is held for 5 minutes, needing a 14 or greater. Cursed treant number 2 rolls a 6 and fails versus spells. Cursed treant number 3 is held for 5 minutes, needing a 14 or greater. Cursed treant number 3 rolls a 13 and fails versus spells. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 354 experience points. Just as you force the treants attacking you to retreat, the others that had tried to ambush all of you retreat as well and quickly meld back into the forest. Your party and the treants under the control of the old sorceress ahead have won the conflict. From what you just witnessed, there appear to be at least 2 factions of treants here in the forest, one under the control of the mysterious sorceress leading you and a second, more savage and dangerous faction. You certainly can't trust the woman or her tree man faction yet, but they seem the lesser of 2 evils. You then notice that several of the treants near your party have been wounded in the ambush, the strange creatures able to communicate their pain to one another. What would you like to do here? Choose an option: chase the ambushing treants into the forest, speak to the elderly sorceress again, try to heal the treants amongst you. The party's reputation score permanently increases by 1 point. Recognizing that the treants have been wounded, you ask your clerics if they can heal them in some way. The woodmen are paranoid at first and won't let your party near them, but Kartha is able to heal an initial few and soon your clerics are doing an admirable job of healing all the wounded treants. That was close, the woman acknowledges, glancing back into the deep forest. More and more treants are falling to the curse. Soon, they will all succumb and the damage will be permanent. What curse? Kartha asks, naturally concerned. The same curse that is aging everyone prematurely, the sorceress answers, equally worried. But let's not dawdle, we need to continue on our way before more of the cursed treants find us and attack. Without truly answering your question, or even introducing herself yet, you begin to follow the sorceress again, the woman leading her small treant force into the forest and along a path deeper into the wood. As you continue your march, Sainadir steps to you, quite agitated now. Stay sharp, Janet. She's probably leading us to the very lair of the Strenigerus. We can destroy them all there, in a single attack. Nodding to Sainadiers, you continue on your way into the forest. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. Continuing to follow the older human woman, she spends a few additional hours leading you deep into the forest, its dark ambience reminding you of your penetration into the evil root forest before your encounter with Sandaria and the destruction of the Onyx Seal. A variety of eyes watch as you pass by, the forest full of creatures that, likely, are dangerous if you stop to interact with them. The further you march, the more concerned you become. Let's do a party curiosity check and see how your heroes react to this strange, dark journey. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 15 was rolled. Failure. As you proceed, you do notice signs of damage along the forest path, places where it appears some sort of small battle took place. What caused all the damage, however, is something you can't determine. Just as the trek through the forest really starts to get grueling, you reach a modest clearing, the canopy not so thick and thus allowing some light to penetrate. Indeed, the small clearing has a bit of a glow about it, and you instinctively feel that you've reached some sort of haven within the wood. The woman ahead leading the treants motions you forward, her soft grin encouraging you to trust her. Eswin takes a quick look around, then nods affirmatively, leading the way. As you enter the clearing, nearly a dozen much smaller treants suddenly rise to their feet and come racing toward you. Their faces so overjoyed that they seem possessed and their arms outstretched, it's as if they're about to try and capture all of you. How do you react? Choose an option. Empathy, welcome the small treant creatures. Intolerance, ready your weapons for combat. Reason, be wary of the approaching treants. The empathy score for Janet remains the same, putting out your own arms as if to welcome the diminutive woody creatures. They rush past you and into the open arms of the much larger treants accompanying you, as if they were children rushing to welcome back their parents, which they are. A little embarrassed, you smile nonetheless, the scene warming to the heart. Still think they're the Strenigerus? Cartha ridicules as she steps past Sainadiers, the Sislan quite surprised by the encounter and now not sure what to think. The embrace between the smaller treants and their much larger counterparts is long and tender. Clearly, these creatures are not only intelligent but capable of human-like emotions, especially love. As the treant families step away for the interior of the clearing, let's do a curiosity check on your hero to see if you notice anything more. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 7 was rolled. Success. As the adult treants pass by, you notice that the redness in their eyes, the strange, possessed glow they had, is now gone. Something seems to have dispelled the possession magic, allowing the treants to behave in a much more friendly manner. One of the largest treants that had been waiting in the clearing then slowly approaches the old woman who led you here, reaching for her and tenderly embracing the human with several of its branches. Welcome home, Ofaris, the treant says. We were worried for all of you. We have guests, the old woman responds, pointing in your party's direction. I believe they can help. The large treant bows magnificently, exposing her royal lineage. Welcome, heroes, to our humble grove, the female treant says, introducing herself. I am Queen Willowheart, and I led these treants here. She was a queen to hundreds more here in the forest, the elderly sorceress adds, saddened. Now she is the last of her royal lineage. Bowing in return, how would you like to respond to this old, noble treant? Choose an option. Charisma, we are honored to meet you. Intelligence, what happened to your family? Wisdom, we greet you as strong allies. Speaking in their native treant language, Ariana properly greets the queen, doing an adequate job of it. The treant responds in the elven language, its meaning lost to you, but your impression most favorable. We have much to discuss, the sorceress interjects, pointing toward a small stone house near the far end of the clearing. But first, let's eat and relax, it's been a long day. Both the human and the treant lead you to a small stone picnic table just outside the house beyond, several more of the treants bringing food and drink and providing surprisingly warm hospitality. The dining begins, and for the first few minutes all your party can do is graciously consume the various berries, vegetables, and bread provided, the food so much better than your standard rations. The several dozen treants all sit down around you as well, pushing their roots into the floor of the relative clearing to draw up their own needed water and nutrients. "So, you're the sister of Balibus, you said?" Kartha begins, getting the much-needed conversation started. "I am Ofaris, and yes, I am his younger sister. Magic has always been strong in our family," Ofaris continues, her demeanor growing serious. "Both our parents were powerful magic users, yet they were also kind and gentle, only using their power to help and protect those in need. Eventually they attracted the attention of the inner circle, and after joining them, they quickly rose in strength and power. Then, they started talking about becoming truistics." Several eyes turned to Redfern, the magic user himself suddenly embarrassed and looking away. "And did they survive the ritual?" Sainairs asks, knowing full well the likely fate that awaited them. Ofaris sneers as she continues, her serious look turning to anger and even hatred. "They were everything a truistic is supposed to be, kind and loving, always putting others before themselves, their empathy and altruism second to none. They were ideal candidates, and the circle itself assured us that they would not just survive the ritual but become circle representatives themselves someday. So they climbed Mount Rebirth and with all the faith in the world, flung themselves together into the throat of the volcano, and they both fell to their deaths. Choose an option, empathy, that is so horrible. Honor, they tried to do the right thing. Reason, many don't survive the ritual." It sounds like the parents of Ofaris were trying to do the right thing by becoming truistics themselves so they could better serve the world. Though their deaths were a tragedy, their efforts were quite honorable. "From that day forward, Balibus and I hated the circle," Ofaris hisses, still emotionally scarred from the loss of her parents. "And the more we learned about them, the more we knew that the circle needed to be destroyed, once and for all." "Destroyed?" Redfern asks, surprised. "You would see the whole of the circle and all its truistics destroyed?" In a heartbeat, the elderly sorceress replies, quite angry. "They have so lost their way that the only thing left to do is destroy them." "Forgive me, but you sound a lot like the Ultimates," Kartha comments, her tone still respectful. "They, too, want nothing more than to see all the truistics destroyed. The Ultimates are sick with the Nemfruit," Ofaris condemns, "not an ally of them whatsoever. They even tried to grow one of their nemesis plants here nearby years ago. So we ate it," the treant Queen Willowheart professes, almost with a grin. "The plant tasted terrible but we rid ourselves of the sentient creature." "Truth be told, we've become enemies of the circle ourselves," Redfern confesses, perhaps revealing a bit too much. "They captured us recently and we fought them, it's how we ended up here." "You fought them? And survived?" Ofaris exclaims, shocked. "Don't lie to us." "It's not a lie," you respond, looking Ofaris squarely in the eyes. "We're not sure what happened ourselves, but we were teleported here, just outside of Leakley." "Bah!" Queen Willowheart retorts, suddenly unhappy. "I hate those disgusting dark elves." Still focused entirely on you, Janet, Ofaris stands and slowly approaches you, her look most serious. "May I see for myself?" "You know the drill by now," Ofaris is asking to use her magic to invade your mind and experience everything you've experienced recently. It's not just a painful process but a highly invasive one, sharing your memories with another person, and in this case, a complete stranger. How do you respond? Choose an option, altruism, allow Ofaris to simply proceed, diplomacy, agree in exchange for something, spirit, ask Ofaris to look hard and deep. The party's reputation score permanently increases by 1 point, agreeing, you ask Ofaris to look hard and deep, hoping she can learn something that perhaps you don't even know yet. The sorceress agrees, then places both hands around your head, closing her eyes and beginning the process. As when Representative Margaret did the same thing back in Tobin some time ago, the experience is quite painful. Knowing what to expect this time, however, you get through the ritual relatively unscathed. Ofaris opens her eyes and immediately looks at Redfern, as if he were some strange creature. She then turns back to you, profoundly serious. You were brought here for a reason. Your heroes naturally needing to know more, Ofaris continues, the sorceress remaining alongside you. You're not just enemies of the circle now, you're destined to destroy them, and they know it. But you will need something, a powerful relic that brought my brother and I to this accursed island decades ago as well. Have you heard of the Wizardbane? The only person who might know anything is Redfern, so let's do an intelligence check on him to see what he knows. Needing a 16 or less from Redfern, an 8 was rolled. Success, that sword is said to kill any magic user it strikes, Redfern almost whispers, the artifact quite deadly to his profession. It's just a myth meant to scare magic users, right? It's real, and a portal to its location lies underneath the manor encased in amber you saw, the sorceress replies, the news shocking. Balibus and I have spent nearly 30 years trying to open the portal. What does that have to do with us? Eswin asks, not seeing the connection. The Wizardbane has other powers, such as the ability to render its wielder and all within a 30-foot radius invisible to magic users as well. You'll need the Wizardbane to hide from the circle until you're ready to face them again. So, you're suggesting that we should quest for this Wizardbane sword? Eswin asks, now seeing the connection. It sounds like exactly the sort of thing we need against the circle. Which brings us back to my brother Balibus, Ofaris sighs, hanging her head low. He's not only after the Wizardbane as well, but he's the one who caused this aging sickness, caused all this death. Ofaris reaches for Queen Willowheart, the latter gently wrapping several of her outer branches around the hand of the former. You sense a strong bond between the two and wait for Ofaris to continue. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. When we arrived here in search of the Wizardbane, my brother was a good, decent man, a powerful magic user who, like me, wanted to avenge our parents and smite the circle. It took us a decade to find the portal leading to the artifact, but some 30 years later we still can't open it. How do you know so much about this artifact? Redfern asks. We didn't know much at first, the sorceress continues, her voice softer. Legend had it that the drow here in Grim-Tir forged the Wizardbane to retaliate against the circle for banishing them here long ago, so we started looking. Then, after 10 years and no luck, my brother did something so stupid. Balibus heard about the nemfruit in Chagaria, and how one could consume some of it and wish for something. Despite the dangers of what the fruit does to your soul, he snuck into Chagaria south of us, secured some nemfruit and did a wishing, needing to know the location of the Wizardbane. And it worked? Redfern asks, sure that it did. You said you found a portal to the relic. A portal that can't be opened, the sorceress replies. Far worse, Balibus was never the same after the wishing, slowly slipping into madness over the years and eventually succumbing to the evil of the fruit. After 3 decades of looking for a way to open the portal, my brother's health began to fade as well and we both knew he was dying, Ofaris continues, her tale growing worse. Yet he was obsessed with opening the portal and finding the Wizardbane. Without my knowledge, he cast a grand spell, one that would slowly suck the life out of the weaker drow here on the island and allow him to absorb that energy to keep himself alive. He's become a sort of vampire? Ariana asks, recalling the monsters you faced back in the poisoned dwarven ruins. Has he become undead? Ofaris shrugs, indicating she isn't sure. The Treant Queen then speaks, her news just as distressing. The magic of Balibus wasn't limited to the drow. For you humanoids, it aged many of you unnaturally. For we Treants, it drove most of us mad, corrupting our souls and turning us against one another. I was able to set up a sort of temporary anti-magic shell here in the clearing, Ofaris adds, looking about. But my brother's life-draining magic is killing me as well. If we don't stop it soon, all of us are doomed. So, where is this Balibus? Eswin asks, not surprised that yet another sorcerer is causing havoc. The manor outside the forest, our home the past 3 decades, Ofaris responds. The spell he wove sort of stopped time itself, encasing our manor in a magic bubble of amber. There is no way in. But the manor rests upon some ancient dark elf ruins, where Balibus is sure to be, Queen Willowheart continues, offering a plan. I know where we can dig our way into the ruins, but we don't have the strength to confront Balibus directly. Will you help? Choose an option. I don't know, it sounds too dangerous. Naturally, anything we can do to help? We'd prefer to stay out of this. The party's reputation score permanently increases by 1 point. Both Ofaris and Queen Willowheart nod in agreement, glad that they can count on your party. Is your brother alone or does he have minions down there as well? Eswin asks, the warrior already starting to chart battle tactics in his mind. I am sure he's defending himself with something, Ofaris answers, quite concerned. He must realize an attack is coming at some point, so I am sure he will be ready. And why did you leave him? Kartha asks, sensing there is more to learn. My brother is convinced of his own self-righteousness, Ofaris answers in a soft, apologetic tone. He truly believes that the ends justify the means, that stealing the life forces of many of the dark elves to keep himself alive is a goodly act so long as he can retrieve the Wizardbane and one day destroy the inner circle with it. I love my brother, but I couldn't allow him to hurt so many just to stay alive, so I left, vowing to stop him one day. We have been friends for nearly a decade, Queen Willowheart adds, glancing at Ofaris with a smile. She vowed to protect our Treant family, even when her brother's evil magic started causing our kind to go insane. Balibus does not deserve a sister like Ofaris. The elderly sorceress smiles and nods, her bond with the queen quite strong. Listening intently throughout the conversation, let's do an empathy check on your hero and see what you take away from the encounter. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 3 was rolled. Success. From your experiences the past few hours, you sense that Ofaris and Queen Willowheart genuinely mean well, so much so that Ofaris appears ready to defeat, perhaps even kill, her own brother to stop the aging sickness that is tormenting so many here in Grim-Tir. To strike down someone you love must be a terrible decision and you can't help but feel sorry for Ofaris. I will inform my subjects, Queen Willowheart says, about to turn away. I will send my strongest to aid you. So be it, Ofaris states, standing to her feet and turning to you. All of you are welcome to rest and recover within my home. When you're ready, let me know and we will set out for Balibus. Make sure you're at full strength before we leave. Your heroes all nod, recognizing the challenges ahead. Ofaris then leads you 20 feet to her stone house where you can rest and recuperate. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. As you step toward the front door of Ofaris' small home, you overhear Kartha ask something of Sainadirs. Still think the Treants are the Strenigaris? Sainadir sneers at Kartha then turns toward you, rather embarrassed. Let's try an honor check on Sainadirs and see what happens. Needing a 15 or less from Sainadirs, a 7 was rolled. Success. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. While the Sislan is absolutely loath to admit it, he nods slightly and agrees. You're right, these creatures are not the Strenigaris and are not deserving of any holy war against them. Stepping inside, all of you barely fit, the entire floor occupying perhaps just 500 square feet or so. Still, it's enough, and with the small Treant force outside and the failing anti-magic shell surrounding the clearing, you should be relatively safe for now as you sleep, heal, and recover. GM note, before moving on, You should take this opportunity to rest and fully heal yourselves, so, when you're all healed up and ready to depart, use the travel to new area drop down below to exit the deep forest and return to the forest entrance. Janet casts Cure Light Wounds on Eswin, healing him for 4 hit points. Your party rests and recovers for 8 hours. Wounds are tended, spells are memorized, and your heroes are refreshed and re-energized. GM alert, at least one of your heroes is freezing cold. Travel alert, using the path, you travel south, taking several hours to arrive. Ready to confront Balibus, Ofaris leads your party away from the small clearing and back to the forest entrance a few hours away, escorted by a dozen of the strongest treants Queen Willowheart could provide. The trek proceeds in relative silence, your party tense with the thought of doing battle with a powerful sorcerer and, likely, his yet-to-be-determined minions. The bright side, of course, is if you can defeat Balibus, the strange aging sickness should be lifted and you will have saved many lives here in Grim-Tir. Then, of course, you can start thinking about how to escape the island. As you follow the small path out of the forest, all of you can't help but notice more treants standing amongst the trees and brush some distance away, their eyes glowing red and strongly possessed. Several take a step or two in your direction to attack, but then keep their distance, recognizing that your party is too strong for them to overcome. Ofaris notices the possessed treants as well and sighs, trusting that her brother will soon be defeated and the tree men restored to their natural state. Returning to the amber-encased manor where you originally met Ofaris and the treants, the sorceress looks carefully about, then leads everyone to a particular spot on the ground about 20 feet southeast of the building. Here, start digging, as silently but as quickly as you can. The sorceress commands the treants. This spot underneath should get us to the elven ruins below. The treants do as they're requested, beginning to tear at the ground and digging down rather quickly. Ofaris then looks to you, her expression quite serious. It won't take long for the treants to penetrate the ruins below, the old sorceress begins, focused on you. I know we just met, but once we encounter my brother and the conflict begins, we will need to trust one another if we're going to have any hope of defeating him. You have my trust, do I have yours? In effect, Ofaris needs to join your party. Hopefully you know what to do by now. Welcome Ofaris to your party. Ofaris is a level 8 magic user and takes her place at your side. Click her profile to learn about her. It does not take long for the treants to do their job, burrowing a hole at a 45-degree angle down and large enough to allow each of you to descend one at a time. The shaft has broken through an old stone wall, penetrating the ruins below and allowing access, time to attack. Fearful of the powerful magic user you're about to face, the treants ask that your party lead the way, the wood-based creatures taking up the rear and ready to defend you against the might and power of Balibus. Leading the treants down through the excavated tunnel, you emerge through an old stone wall into what appears to be ancient underground ruins, the manor above purposely built atop them. Large columns of amber stand here and there, pulled down by gravity after the manor above was somehow encased in the golden stuff, lit from behind by a dozen or so magical lights illuminating the ruins fairly well. Expecting to do battle with Balibus, you don't find anyone or anything, which only deepens your anxiety. Looks like you will need to search the ruins first. A quick search reveals that you have apparently tunneled through the outer wall of an ancient castle, Ofaris confirming the hypothesis moments later. We believe these are the ruins of an ancient castle, a stronghold where the Dark Elves originally created the Wizardbane. There is a chamber down here containing what we believe is a portal to a deeper level, but in 3 decades of trying, we could never get the portal open. This way. The elderly sorceress, quite knowledgeable of the ruins, she quickly leads your party in a particular direction further in. The treants continuing to follow behind you, Ofaris soon leads you to a central area, a large circular chamber perhaps 100 feet across and containing some peculiar things such as a small library, a rather well-built bed, a small pool of glowing liquid and, in the exact center of the area, a large ring of glowing magical runes on the floor, a stone hexagonal pillar rising about 4 feet alongside the ring. He's either not here or he's... Ofaris whispers, quite concerned. Invisible. An older voice answers, its location unknown. Do you think me as such a fool that I wouldn't protect myself for your return? Without warning, a half-dozen glassy-like lion creatures appear, each roaring and looking quite intimidating. A moment later, another half-dozen fire elementals appear as well, powerful creatures of fire that cause the treants to back away in near total fear. Then, who you can only assume to be Balibus appears alongside his minions, a little older than Ofaris with unkempt hair and disheveled clothing that appears to have not been changed in years. Balibus, please. Ofaris begins, trying to resolve the encounter with an impassioned plea. You're killing almost everyone above, end your spell and give up this obsession with the Wizardbane. You know I can't do that. Balibus returns, not nearly as emotional as his sister. The circle must be put down, only I can do that, and only with the Wizardbane. We've been over this 100 times, I must live for the greater good of Mariga. Ofaris and Balibus remain miles apart, words alone aren't going to resolve their conflict. What would you like to try? Choose an option: charisma, convince Balibus to stand down; intelligence, ask more about the Wizardbane; strength, attack Balibus and his minions. The curiosity score for Janet remains the same, recognizing that mere words aren't going to change the mind of the old wizard, but not wanting to attack him directly and risk both sides being hurt either, you try a more middle ground approach, one that, hopefully, won't result in any bloodshed. Tell us more about this Wizardbane you're willing to kill for, Redfern continues, trying a different tactic. Are you even sure it truly exists? It exists all right, Balibus returns, apparently ready to talk for now. Centuries ago, the Dark Elves here in Grim-Tir forged the weapon themselves to defeat the Circle, and it lies just on the other side of this grand portal. The old wizard points toward the circle of glowing runes on the floor, a magical portal you assume has yet to be opened. We've spent 3 decades trying to open it, to no avail. Balibus slowly walks over to the small hexagonal pillar on the floor, the impression of a human hand made into the top of the 4-foot-tall obelisk. We assume there is some sort of passphrase needed to open the portal, the magic user summarizes, placing his own hand into the impression atop the pedestal. We've tried everything we could think of, tapping knowledge from all over Mariga, but nothing works. The many bookshelves here lined with old tomes now make sense, decades of research that hasn't helped in the least. Oh no. Balibus suddenly whispers, nearly dropping to one knee. His age and terminal illness nearly robbing him of his agility and constitution, Balibus nearly passes out and Ofaris rushes to his aid. The brother puts out his hand to stop, however, and instead hobbles toward the small pool of glowing liquid nearby, descending into the pool as if to take a bath. Watching curiously, the old magic user spends a good 15 minutes within the glowing pool, drenching himself nearly from head to toe before emerging again. "That is so much better," Balibus comments as he exits the pool, using a nearby towel to dry himself off with. Miraculously, the wizard looks almost completely healed and rejuvenated, as if he were a decade younger. The pool clearly has strong magical abilities, and you look at it a little more carefully. As Balibus finishes drying himself off, let's do a reason check on your hero and see what conclusions your hero comes to. Needing a 13 or less from Janet, a 4 was rolled. Success, sure, it does not take much to recognize that this magical pool is what's pulling all the life energy away from the weaker dark elves throughout Grim-Tir, allowing Balibus to remain healthy and alive despite his terminal illness. This pool needs to be destroyed as soon as possible. What destroyed the castle? Redfern then inquires of Balibus, naturally curious. You said the dark elves created the Wizardbane, what happened to them? Before the drow could launch their army against the circle, the Truistics themselves found this place and destroyed all the dark elves. From what we can tell, Balibus responds, answering honestly. We don't know if the dark elves hid the weapon away first or if the circle recovered the weapon and took it away, Ofaris adds, deepening the mystery. They destroyed the fortress here, but this portal was created by the circle, not the drow. Meaning that the circle left something here to protect, the Wizardbane, likely, Balibus further theorizes. But we can't get this portal open to find out. If it was the circle that left this portal behind, they wouldn't want it opened by anyone other than a Truistic, Redfern speculates, intrigued with the conversation. Perhaps it's more about who tries to open the portal than what they might say. That's intriguing. How do you wish to respond to Redfern? Choose an option, charisma, if only you were a Truistic, intelligence, try opening the portal yourself, wisdom, Sandaria was once a Truistic. If only you were a Truistic, Redfern, you suggest with a smile. Too bad it didn't go well atop Mount Rebirth with your father. Redfern considers your words for a moment, looks to your fellow party heroes, then steps over to the hexagonal stone pedestal, both Balibus and Ofaris watching him with disbelieving curiosity as well. Redfern draws a deep breath, then lowers his right hand into the depression in the stone, not expecting anything to happen. At once, the stone pillar begins to glow. A moment later, the magical runes on the floor move, rotating counterclockwise on the cold stone floor. The eyes of both Balibus and Ofaris widen in shock and disbelief, decades of trial and error overtaken in one single act by Redfern. Suddenly, the entire ceiling fades away, revealing the outdoors, the sun rising and setting hundreds of times in the span of a few seconds. The walls then seemingly repair themselves, the ceiling of the original fortress reappears and everything looks new again, as if you had just been teleported to a brand new castle. As the wild magical effect ends, the rotating runes on the floor disappear, revealing a wide stone stairway leading down into the darkness. Again, something quite bizarre has just occurred and you now stand within a lower floor of a recently constructed fortress. Naturally curious, all of you step to the entrance of the stairway leading down, bewildered by what has just happened. The portal didn't lead to another place, Ofaris says with a shocked smile. It led to another time, centuries in the past. Another time? Ariana asks, the young elf barely able to even grasp such a scenario. We haven't moved, Ofaris replies, looking about. I would say we've traveled back in time to when the ruins here were occupied by the drow, perhaps to the very time when they forged the Wizardbane. We should investigate, but we need to be very careful. Amber golems, attack. Standing there, you're surprised to watch as Balibus leaps atop one of this amber golems, riding the magical beast past you and down the stairway, quickly disappearing into the darkness. Worse, the remaining golems approach, about to pounce upon your party. Your party is under attack. About to attack your party are 3 amber golems and 3 fire elementals. It's Murieleth's turn. What do you want her to do? Murieleth casts Lightning Bolt on roughly half of all encountered combatants, electrocuting them. Amber Golem number 1 avoids the attack altogether. Amber Golem number 2 is unharmed. Ariana uses a Boots of Speed on herself, allowing herself to act twice each round for 5 minutes. It's Janet's turn. What do you want? Janet uses a Blink Dog on Fire Elemental number 1, biting it for 1 point of damage for it. Eswin uses a Boots of Speed on himself, allowing himself to act twice each round for 5. Kartha casts Spiritual Hammer on Fire Elemental number 1, bashing it for 1 point of damage for 10 minutes. It's Ofaris' turn. Ofaris casts Ice Storm on roughly half of all encountered combatants. Amber Golem number 1 is pummeled for 46 points of damage, needing a 13 or greater. It's Barthal's turn. What do you want? Needing a 50 or less on percentile dice, a 57 is rolled. Failure. Barthal tries to blend into the shadows but is unsuccessful, remaining visible to all combatants. It's Redfern's turn. What do you want him to do? Redfern casts Phantasmal Force on Fire Elemental number 1, nearly horrifying it. Sainadius casts Cause Moderate Wounds on Amber Golem number 2, nearly wounding it. Fire Elemental number 3 attacks Eswin with its Monstrous Flames, needing a 21 to hit. Fire Elemental number 2 attacks Sainadius with its Monstrous Flames, needing a 20. GM note: a new combat round has begun. Initiative: Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Amber Golem number 3, needing a 21 to hit. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings. Murieleth casts Phantasmal Force on Fire Elemental number 1, horrifying it. Redfern casts Magic Missile on Fire Elemental number 1, striking it with a Magic Missile for 10 points of damage. Fire Elemental number 2 attacks Sainadius with its Monstrous Flames, needing a 20 to hit. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Amber Golem number 2, needing a 21 to hit. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Fire Elemental number 3, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 17, +8 to hit. Eswin hits Fire Elemental number 3, doing 12 points of damage and leaving it with 27 hit points. However, the flames of the Fire Elemental number 3 are also quite intense for Eswin, burning him for 4 points of damage. Kartha casts Cause Moderate Wounds on Amber Golem number 2, wounding it for 17 points of damage, needing a 13 or greater. Ofaris casts Magic Missile on Fire Elemental number 3, striking it with a Magic Missile for 11 points. Kartha directs her Spiritual Hammer at Fire Elemental number 3, bashing it for 4 points. It's Janet's turn. What do you want? Janet casts Cause Moderate Wounds on Fire Elemental number 3, nearly wounding it, needing a 13. Arthal readies his short sword +1 and swings at fire elemental number 3, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a. Janet directs her blink dog at fire elemental number 3. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with higher value. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at fire elemental number 3. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at fire elemental number 3, needing a 20 to hit. Janet casts cause light wounds on fire elemental number 2, nearly wounding it, needing a 13 or greater. Fire element. Arthal readies his short sword +1 and swings at. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at fire elemental number 2. Janet directs her blink dog at fire elemental number 2, biting it for 3 points. Marioleth directs her phantasmal force at fire elemental number 2, horrifying it for 6 points of damage. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at fire elemental number 2, needing a 20 to hit. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at fire elemental number 2. Marioleth casts magic missile on fire elemental number 2, striking it with a magic missile for 8 points of damage. Fire elemental number 2 has been defeated. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 1122 experience points. The Amber Golems destroyed. Your attention turns back to the stone stairway leading down, your party now apparently trapped in time and needing to find a way back to the present. My best guess is that we've returned to around the time that the Wizardbane was captured by the Inner Circle, Ofaris conjectures, leading you back to the stairway going down. Maybe the Truistics couldn't destroy or even move the weapon, so they trapped it here in time where only one of their own could return to it. Ofaris looks to Redfern but then turns back to you, more pressing issues to deal with. Janet, let's rest and heal ourselves, then follow my brother down these steps. If the Wizardbane is truly here, we can't let him leave with it. GM note, before moving on, you should take this opportunity to rest and fully heal yourselves. The area relatively safe, you're free here to rest, memorize your spells and ready yourselves for what lies ahead. Be sure to recover all your hit points before you depart, the dungeon ahead is quite dangerous. Janet casts Cure Moderate Wounds on Ariana, healing her for 17 hit points. Janet casts Cure Light Wounds on Eswin, healing him for 11 hit points. Cartha casts Cure Light Wounds on Eswin, healing him for 6 hit points. Your party rests and recovers for 8 hours. Wounds are tended, spells are memorized and your heroes are refreshed and re-energized.